Hello everyone, welcome to the CloudCareers YouTube channel. In case if you're in the process of learning AWS Cloud, or if you're an AWS aspirant who want to learn cloud, or if you're someone who is very much interested about cloud, and if you're thinking about which one to start with, and if you know some aspects of AWS Cloud, and if you still feel that you need to learn something new, and this course is absolutely designed for you guys. And starting from today, I'm gonna update, I'm gonna share every day one session on AWS Cloud in a practical approach. And when you have started learning AWS Cloud, and if you saw the name regional resource versus global resource versus zonal resource, if you are wondering what they are, why do I need it? This video is absolutely created for you. And if you're not sure about this, and if you feel that you know cloud, please watch this video. It's going to be very interesting. And if you're a beginner who want to learn AWS Cloud, and I'm gonna start things from the absolute scratch with a real-time approach. So even before understanding what is a global resource, regional resource, and zonal resource, we need to understand Amazon Cloud is one of the leading cloud provider in the space of cloud, no doubt in that. And I don't want to talk about what is cloud, why cloud. Okay, I'm very sure you would have very much clear about it. And if this video is recommended to you, that means you are someone who is interested about clouds. You would have know what is cloud. And if you know what is cloud, you would have heard the term AWS, Amazon Web Services. Why Amazon has named the service provider name as AWS, which also means Amazon Web Services. Amazon wants to offer everything through web, which when I say web, internet. Amazon wants to offer all its offerings over internet, which is nothing but web. And that's the reason they have mentioned the name of their provider as Amazon Web Services. Amazon offers 250 plus services in AWS. What do you mean by service? Anything that Amazon offers, they coin the term as service. For example, I want to create a server on AWS. You use a service. The name of the service is EC2. I want to create a database. Amazon has a service called as RDS, which helps you in creating 8 plus varieties of SQL databases. And for example, if you want to create a Kubernetes cluster, which is a container orchestration platform, which is one of the major open source project. And if you want to run such cluster on Amazon Cloud, Amazon has a service called as EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Cluster, Elastic Kubernetes Service. Likewise, Amazon has 250 plus offerings. Now, the second question, if Amazon offers 250 plus services, do I need to learn all 250 to become a cloud and DevOps engineer? 100% no. You learn few things, and with the knowledge and based on the project you learn, you can easily catch up the other services. Amazon also offers certain services like Glue. These are all the services that are absolutely created for data engineering. So you don't have to worry about it. If you are a cloud and DevOps aspirant, try to understand the platform. Rest of them would be very much quite easy. Okay. Now, I want to talk something very interesting about global infrastructure. What global infrastructure? This is very important. When you're learning something, you create infrastructure randomly wherever, whenever you want. But when you join any project, you don't do that way. First, you need to understand what your business is. You also need to understand where your business is operating and who are your customers. And then you are going to create your infrastructure in Amazon Cloud in a specific place. And to understand that, let's try to go and search in the internet where and all places, where and all geographical locations Amazon is offering its business. So let's try to understand AWS Global Infrastructure Map. And this is something which keeps on updating. And that's the reason I haven't mentioned it on the deck. And if you look at this picture, in this world map, in this world map, you can see the colors in green. That means these and all the places where Amazon has its offering. In India, Amazon is operating in Hyderabad. You would have seen these zones. What is this zone? Let's talk about it. And you can also see another place called as Mumbai region, which was launched in 2016. It has 3 availability zones and 2 local zones. This local zones is something which was very recently added. What is this local zone? We need to understand that. So here Mumbai is called as a region. Okay, so let's try to understand it. For example, if you can also see that North Virginia, Amazon has started its first operations in North Virginia in 2006. Amazon started its business from North Virginia in cloud business. And if you see this, Amazon has 6 availability zones. We didn't talk about what is availability zone at this point of time, but understand availability zone is like a data center. Whenever Amazon wants to release any brand new feature, they don't release the features across the world. First, they release in one place, and then slowly, they'll release across the board. In that space, you get most of the brand new features in North Virginia because it's one of the biggest infrastructure, and huge number of customers are uh, hosted on the top of this Virginia. And if you come here and if you look at this, there are 33 regions with multiple availability zones. So when I started my career, I just saw 15 to 16. Year by year, you can see the number of zones and the number of regions that are increasing. So first, let's try to understand what is a region. Region is nothing but a geographical location where your infrastructure is created. For example, if yours is a business based out of India, for example, yours is an e-commerce based company who sells clothes over internet in India, so your e-commerce business is based out of India. So obviously you need to create your infrastructure either in Mumbai or Hyderabad. What will happen if my users are here in India and if I'm creating my infrastructure in United States? What will happen? So whenever any user wants to buy any shopping, whenever any user want to buy clothes or anything as a part of your e-commerce application, all your requests have to reach the servers that are hosted on this particular North Virginia. And again, the request will have to be processed here. That means there will be huge latency. By the time the request will be processed, your customers will be very much annoyed. Not just that, each and every country, based on the law of the land, they have their own data compliance policies. That's also called as global data protection rules, GDPR rules. As per the country rules and the regulations, you are not supposed to host the data of the customers in another country apart from where your business is operating. So these two parameters are very much important when you want to decide where you want to host your infrastructure. Okay, and if your business is based out of India and if your customers data that you're storing is based out of India, obviously you need to create the infrastructure in India because your customers are in India, your business is in India. So obviously you need to host your infrastructure in the particular location, in the particular region. Region is nothing but a physical, region is nothing but a geographical location. It doesn't mean country name. Okay. So in United States, Amazon is operating in 6 different regions. And out of which 2 are something that you cannot use. And this is for the government organizations in United States, US West government and US East government. Apart from that, rest of the 4, anyone can use. Whether you are a free user or whether you are a paid user or whether you're an enterprise user, you can use. But United States government cloud and other government cloud are not for the regular users. Okay, fine. Now let's go back and try to understand what is the region. Okay, how you need to build your infrastructure when you are designing any specific infrastructure. For example, yours is an e-commerce based company where you want to host your infrastructure. For example, this is your, for example, this is Amazon's Mumbai region. Let's assume this is Mumbai region in India. And a lot of customers are having their infrastructure, which is nothing but servers, databases, storage devices, everything created on this particular region. Let's assume there is a customer named as, there can be n number of customers, but I would like to talk about customer A, who is an e-commerce company. Okay, it's a e-commerce company, and this customer wants to host its infrastructure in Mumbai region because his business is based out of India, and majority of the customers are based in around Mumbai. So, for example, he want to host 3 servers. Let's assume 3 servers. I'll just call it as 3 Linux servers. And in all the 3 Linux servers, we are running 3 different applications, and one of the application is uh, since it is an e-commerce, so user login. Okay, you have an application called as user login that is running here. Okay, this is a server. Let's try to use some nice colors. So on this particular server, we are running an application called as user login, and the catalog is an application that is running on this particular server, and on the other server your payment application is running. Now, if Amazon has designed the infrastructure in a regional format like this, what will happen? Because of some natural calamity, or because of some any outage, or electricity outage, or the network outage, or hardware outage, or because of any reason, because of any catastrophe, what if you lose this particular region? What will happen to all the applications or the servers of different customers that are running in this region? Obviously you encounter a regional outage, and that's the reason regional region is not the place or a data center where infrastructure is going to be hosted. And when Amazon or any customer wants to create an infrastructure, they need to keep the availability in mind. What if the place where my servers are running are destroyed because of natural calamity or hardware failure? What will happen to my business? You need to create infrastructure keeping that in mind. Amazon is not a small company, and they know the fact that everyone looks for this particular thing. And that's the reason you never, region is arbitrary. Region is just a geographical location, not the physical location or a data center where your infrastructure is going to be hosted. But how infrastructure is going to be hosted in Amazon then? Not just Amazon, in almost all the cloud providers. So we are not going to host our infrastructure directly in a region. Okay, so we are not going to host our infrastructure directly in a region. Instead, we have something called as zones. Okay, so Amazon has taken Mumbai as a physical region or a geographical location. Amazon selects some different locations, okay, which are not really close to each other, but they are very much closely tied in their data centers, okay, which have a very huge network. Okay, so for example, Amazon has three different data centers in three different places. Okay, and again, this is purely dependent on the zone. Okay, and the numbers that I'm saying 1, 2, 3 are purely arbitrary, and based on the region and based on the location, the number of zones would also vary. Zone is nothing but a physical location or a data center where your infrastructure in Amazon is going to be hosted. Okay, and each and every region will be given a logical name based on where it was located. For example, this is my Amazon portal. Each and every region, if you look at the top right corner, you can see the list of regions that are Amazon facing. US East 1, US East 2, that means in the United States, east side, that means in the east region this infrastructure is hosted. Okay, this is east and this is west, US East 1 and US East 2. Similarly, the other regions are US East 1 and US 2. Okay, and this particular part is referred as Asia Pacific, and that's the reason you can also see the name of the Mumbai region as AP South 2 and AP South 1. All right, and Hyderabad is there. Where is Mumbai location? And you can see where is Mumbai. Mm, 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 mm. Maybe it's not showing here, but AP South 1 and AP South 2. Okay, Asia Pacific South 1 and Asia Pacific South 2. So the first two letters represents the continent, okay, physical region or the geographical location, and which part, whether it is east, west, north, south, and in south, how many regions do they have? Based on that, they have numbers. Okay, but if you are using any code or anything, you would be seeing these terms. Okay, these are the logical names. Okay, based on where they are situated. And if you're coming back here, as I'm talking about a region versus availability zone, rather than creating a single place where Amazon can host their entire infrastructure, what Amazon is going to do is they are going to create three different infrastructures or four different infrastructures that are very much close to each other, or which are having a huge network, or where there won't be any much latency between these networks. Okay, Amazon is going to build their chain of data center like this so that they won't be having any latency between these data centers. Okay, so regions, zones that are a part of the region are very much tied up with each other, and they have a very strong network between them. All right. And for example, if this is how, if Mumbai region is designed, and each and every physical location is referred as availability zone. And these are constructed to make sure you'll have the 100% availability all the time. Again, 100% is again arbitrary. So this is how available. All right, this is availability zone 1. Again, these availability zones will also have name as US East 1A, US East 1B, US East 1C. Likewise, they will be naming. But for the demonstration purpose, I'm going to keep that as availability zone 1 and availability zone 2 and availability zone 3. So it's your wish whether you want to create your infrastructure that is tolerant to zone failure or not. So I'll come back to that particular thing again. Now, for example, in the same situation, the same e-commerce company, if they have created their applications, okay, likewise, okay, for example, the same e-commerce company who is operating in Mumbai, if they have constructed like this, okay, have designed like this, and which is having the cart application, okay. All right. This is a cart application which is running in availability zone 1, and a user application which is running in availability zone 2, and payment application in availability zone 3. In this situation, because of any reason or because of any catastrophe, you won't be losing the entire Mumbai region, obviously, because all of them would be constructed 100, 200 or 150, 200 miles. So it's very unlikely that you lose the entire region because of some any catastrophe. If you lose this entire region, your application will still work, but people won't be able to do the payments. But still, end of the day, your business is going to lose money because of it. So that's the reason you always need to design the infrastructure keeping the availability in mind. And if you want to create your application that are fault tolerant, whatever we see, okay, whatever the effect that we got when you lose a zone because of natural catastrophe is a fault in your business. So you need to create your application that is tolerant to such faults. And if you want to design that, typically you can also create your infrastructure with two replicas. That means I want to run two carts, but into multiple zones. Okay, if I'm running my cart application here, two carts I have, and I also have another payment application, and I have payment here. In this case, because of some any reason, even if you lose one zone, for example, I lose availability zone 2. That means still your application work. Cart is there, user application is there, payment is there. What if now you have created an application that is zonal failure? Application is tolerant to zonal failure. Okay, that means even if one zone in the region where you have roasted your infrastructure still fails, still your application works because it is tolerant to failure of one zone. What if I want to create an infrastructure, mine is a tier 1 application in my organization, where I want to make sure at any point of time, even if two regions fail, I want to make sure my application should be available round the clock, irrespective of whether the zone works or not, or two zone works or not. How can I do that? So at the time, you need to create three replicas. So an ideal fault tolerant application should have minimum three zones and minimum three replicas of each and every application. Okay. So for example, I have my user pay cart user pay in all the three zones. In this case, because of any natural calamity, even if you lose this zone or both the loans, still your application fails. But here your application is tolerant to two zone fails. Okay, because of some any natural catastrophe, even if you lose two zones, still your application will work. But every time you are using the more zones, or every time you are creating more replicas of your application, no doubt you are getting more availability, but at the same time, the billing, everything goes by bill, right? Pay as you go. You're gonna pay for how much ever you have paid or used. So obviously you'll be billed more. So it's all about trade-offs, how much availability you want versus how much money you can make. Okay. For example, if you are making more money and at the same time Because of any reason, if your application is down for certain amount of time, if you're losing money, reputation, obviously you need to design an infrastructure that is fault tolerant. Now, if you ask me, what if you lose the entire region, then you need to design the infrastructure, same set of infrastructure in Hyderabad with the different replicas. Okay, that is very unlikely, but this is also something that needs to be considered. Now, the resources we are talking about, what is zonal resource, what is regional resource, let's talk about it. Any resource, for example, if you have created 3 servers in this particular North Virginia region, it's very simple. If you want to create your infrastructure in North California, all you need to do is select this and select North Virginia or US West 1. Going forward, whatever the infrastructure that you see here, or whatever the servers that you're going to create in this particular page, all of them would be created in the North California or US West 1. Okay, likewise, you're gonna switch from whatever the region that you want to wherever you wanna create. But typically in any organization, do we create the resources randomly, like today in North Virginia, tomorrow in North California, and day after tomorrow in Oregon? 100% no. You'll choose a region, you host infrastructure on the top of it. And keeping the regional high availability in mind, you will select one more, maximum 2 or 3. That's it. Okay. Now, if you create a server in AWS, okay. So for example, the services, there are certain services that are regional, and there are certain services that are zonal, and there are certain resources that are global. What do you mean by that? That means EC2 is a service which offers server as a service. Right now, I'm having 3 servers in North Virginia. I have selected this North Virginia. It's loading, let it load. Now I'm in the North Virginia region. I have 3 servers, right? Now this Amazon EC2 is a service that is regional. That means if you create a service or a server in one particular region, that is available only in that particular region. For example, if you go to Ohio or another region, you won't be seeing them because the scope of the particular resource is regional. Then what is a global resource? There are certain resources like Route 53, which is a DNS service in Amazon Cloud. We are going to have a very detailed discussion on what is a Route 53. But for now, there are certain resources where, for example, I have selected Route 53. Here I have selected Route 53 as a service. Please look at the top right corner of my screen. You can see it is showing it as a global resource. That means it doesn't have the need to create in one particular region or a zone. It is a global resource. If you create any zone or any record in this particular service, which is a global, everywhere, any service, any region, any zone can access this service. Then what is a zonal resource? Zonal resources are something, even though you have created, for example, all these machines would need a disk, right? For example, all these servers need a disk, okay? And the name of the disk service is EBS. EBS stands for Elastic Block Storage, okay? Each and every server needs a disk, right? So let me try to name it as a disk 1, disk 1, disk 2, disk 3. Now the storage devices that you created in Amazon are zonal. That means if you create a disk in availability zone 1 of Mumbai region, and if you want to use this particular disk in availability zone or in another zone, it will not work. And if you want to attach or add this particular disk to this machine, no, it will not work. It won't be shown. Why? Because the scope of the disk is zonal, or the disk or the storage volume which you created to store the data of the application is a zonal resource. That means when you create a disk in zone 1, only the resources, only the servers that are created in zone 1 can read. The same applies for here. If you create some disks here, only the resources like servers that are available in zone 2 can read. These type of resources are called as a zonal resource. Your EC2 service, which is a elastic cloud compute, which offers infrastructure as a service or a server as a service, is regional resource. But the associated disks of the particular service, which is also called as elastic block storage. Those are zonal. If you create a disk in zone 1, they are applicable only to zone 1. And if you create a disk in zone 2, only the machines in zone 2 can read it. All right. And that's a quite difference between regional resource, global resource, and zonal resource. Hope you felt this as very much interesting. And in the next session, we're going to talk about, we also discussed about global infrastructure and which region should I choose, and regional resource versus global resource. And no one talks about zonal resource. The disk volumes, the underlying infrastructure, storage disk, all of them are zonal. And that's the reason I have added the tab as zonal resource. And also in the space of cloud business model, everyone talk about when you join any company or when you want to buy any product, in the meetings and in any of the calls, they mostly talk about, hey, this is a PaaS product. Hey, this is a SaaS product. Hey, this is an IaaS product. What do you mean by that? Each and every cloud or each and every business, when they make money, they want to target all set of customers. That means they need to have different business models. Similarly, in cloud, they have multiple business models, and one of the most three business models are SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. What they are something we're going to talk in session 1, which you can see in tomorrow's session. And I'm going to talk more about this in tomorrow's session. And tomorrow we're going to create a server on AWS, and by default the encryption on AWS disk AWS service is done by AWS. But if you want to know what is encryption, how can you make your own encryption? In almost all the companies, they follow their own set of encryption to keep their data only they can read, not even Amazon. How can you add such type of encryption into our AWS EC2 server? Obviously, data is very much important. It should be private only to you, and no one else should have access, including Amazon. And if you want to do that, how can you do that? Is something that we're going to talk tomorrow. And there are a lot of unexplored options which you won't be knowing, and I'm going to talk in tomorrow's session. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe, and it's going to motivate me. For the next 30 days, you're going to see each and every day one video from my channel, exclusive on AWS Cloud. And they are not just very basic of things that I'm going to demonstrate. It's going to be one of the most unexplored and one of the most important but underrated options that I'm going to talk, which are very much helpful when you're talking an interview. And if you like the content, please like the video, share, and subscribe. Thank you.